my grandparents are originally from Mexico,
Oh, okay.
and they came to California. Well, my mom's parents, they originally went to El Paso,
Oh,
because they lived in Juarez, which was very close, because they wanted a better future for their kids, and the same for my dad's mom. She saw the opportunity, for my dad, to have a better life, so they came out here, um, and um, and then my parents were both from Rosemead, California.
oh, okay. So they went to Texas first, and then came out to Rosemead.
Yeah,
That's interesting. I'm not. Have you ever been to Texas?
yeah, I have. But it's changed a lot since, obviously, since they lived there. But yeah, it's still a rich. You could like literally see the other side of the border.
Really? Yeah. I've never been, but I've heard stories that it's like it's kind of surreal. It's just like that's Mexico right there.
Hmm.
Um, you mentioned your family went from Mexico. Do you know what part of Mexico they were in?
My mom's family, they're from Chihuahua,
Hmm.
and my dad, his family is from Sonora.
Hmm.
And then his dad was also from Mazatlan, but he wasn't really close to his dad.
Sure. And I don't know if you do you remember them at all. I don't know if you got to meet them or.
Yeah, I never got to meet my dad's dad, because he passed away when I was 8, and
Hmm.
we weren't able to ever visit him.
And you said your I guess your great grandmother's on your father mother's side. Excuse me. Have you got to meet them, or are they still?
On my mom's side, I got to meet her dad's mom.
Uh,
She was around. She was around for a long time. She only passed away recently.
hmm.
Um, yeah, so she lived a long. She outlived my grandfather even. So.
She got the home cooked meals. You know.
Hmm.
What type of personality do they have? Does she have?
Actually, I'm happy to say like my family is very both sides are very matriarchal.
Hmm.
Um, cause yeah, my dad's grandma, she was like the head of the family, and like everyone like look up to her, and
Hmm.
like she would take care of everyone. She taught my sister and I how to make tortillas like from scratch,
Yeah.
when we were really little.
So this is like a very a tight knit family in a way. Even though you guys are kind of spread out, right? Some people are in Mexico, some people are in Texas, some people are here in California. Um, were you guys were you guys close, or was it?
I would say we've gone through like periods where we were like close, and then
Yeah.
people kind of like um, jumped off, or like were like to themselves, and then kind of like regrouped
Sure.
at certain points. Unfortunately, most of those points surrounded like when someone passed away.
Yeah.
But it was a good thing to like have that opportunity to come together.
Yeah.
And like I went to my dad's mom's funeral in
Hmm.
Mexico in 2006, and I was able to meet family members that I never met before, didn't even know existed, and they didn't know that we existed either. So it was like,
It's kind of crazy how
yeah,
life does that sometimes, right?
yeah,
You just like you take a step back, you think like, oh, hey, this is that. It's like no, actually, there's such more to family, So that's really cool. So, what about your parents? Can you kind of describe their kind of personalities and who kind of like how you were kind of raised?
my parents, my mom always worked in education,
Hmm.
and my dad, he kind of did had a lot of different jobs, but he was an accountant. But outside of that, like they both instilled in my sister and I like the feeling of like giving back, um, whether it was through church or like just the community, or um, like my mom was PTA president
Oh,
because she wanted to like give back to the school and give like other parents the opportunity to like invest in their kids' education and have a say.
yeah, I think humility is a big thing. And it's cool to see that your parents kind of have this giving type of mentality. Um, I don't know if you grew up with much. I know Rosemead, um, it's not it's not like far from places, but I definitely feel like it is a very kind of small community in a way. I don't know if you would feel that way.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a small community, but it's not that far from LA. So like
Sure.
my parents would take us to different places, like different museums or
Oh,
like the
okay.
beach, and made sure we didn't stay in the bubble. 'Cause I know when we moved out to the Inland Empire
Yeah.
when I was like 7, a lot of people definitely have that mentality where they stay in like a little radius
Yes. Yeah.
and they don't really explore much outside of that. But my parents, they wanted to make sure we had every opportunity to even learn from like other cultures. Like they
Mm.
took us to the Asian
I think.
American
Yep.
Art Museum, and um, it wasn't just limited. I mean, we always had traditional like Mexican
Sure. Values and yeah, yeah,
experiences,
yeah.
but they wanted to make sure we
We're
learn.
multifaceted.
Yeah.
So then, I'm really curious about this because I know, especially in kind of Hispanic and Mexican cultures, obviously, like we just mentioned, giving and family is a really big part of just your culture in general. How would you describe you as a child? Like, what was your personality like? Having two parents who are extremely giving, humble beginnings. Your mother was working really hard. Your father's working pretty hard. Um, were you kind of like an outgoing kid running around doing your thing, or were you kind of more composed? Like, what was your personality, if you remember?
I think I was kind of shy,
Mm.
especially around like new family members or like with like outside people outside of my family.
Mm.
But I was very education focused.
Mm.
Like my mom said, even like in elementary school, I was kind of a perfectionist with my homework. And I was like really hard on myself. And my mom, like, she didn't understand why, or she would like try to like tell me like it's okay, but I was like really like I wanted to make my teachers proud, I guess, or
Mm.
like really I really looked up to my teachers.
Mm. And I think that's really interesting. Was your sister the same? Were you two kind of similar?
My sister, she liked school, but I think she was more like into the social
Yeah.
aspects of it.
And is she younger or older?
She's 2 years younger than me.
Okay. Yeah. And so I hope you guys got along. I don't.
I mean, there are some times obviously where my mom had to like break up a fight or something.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for the most part, we got along and we're still really close.
That's good.
So,
So that transition from obviously you're big into your studies, but that transition from Rosemead to IU, did that feel kind of out of place? Did it feel like, okay, this was great? Oh, snap. It's all good. What do you kind of feel about that? How do you feel?
I think it felt like it was kind of a culture shock. Because like I said, my parents would like take us to different places, and
Yeah.
mostly in Southern California. And then you move out here, and everyone's like, my sister had a classmate that had never gone to the beach before,
Whoa. Yeah.
and it was just different for me, I guess. And now I've like really embraced the IE culture.
Mm. And so your transition out here, did you guys like did they get a home, or was this just more of like they moved here because of, you said in 2000, it seems like,
It was around 1998,
oh, excuse me.
99.
Okay.
The housing was cheaper. Their intention was to buy a house, but we ended up renting.
And so then coming out here to IE, and you, sorry, what city were you in?
Uh, we first moved to Fontana.
Okay. All right. I think that's I think I'm if I remember right, I think we went to this similar high school as well. What high school did you go to?
I ended up at Colton High School.
Oh, okay. All right. So I used to go sing there, for competitions and choir and stuff. So that was really fun.
Wow.
So you're now in IE. You're kind of getting the kind of feel of like, whoa, this is definitely a little far away from from normal. Any family out here, hopefully, or any are you are you doing?
Yeah,
What do you,
my dad's aunt, she lived in Altaloma,
oh, okay.
which wasn't too far. And at that time there was like nothing. It was just farmland,
Yeah,
and or you just drive through empty fields, and now it's like
it's
so
bustling.
different.
It's completely different. I remember this too. Remember like these great wine like on
Mhm.
Baseline and Foothill, like just a ton off Fontana. It's a different world. It just changes so quickly, you know. So, hey, what do you do for fun? Are you into any activities or anything, or is just like studies were so important to you still?
When I was in elementary school, I played soccer.
Okay.
My sister and I were in Girl Scouts. We like to go hiking, or
Mm.
like, because we had lived near hills, and we would go on our bikes riding around.
So things were kind of like you were just enjoying the world, nature. Things were kind of simple here. You know, I feel like sometimes simple lives are almost like the best ones, because uh, it's kind of like the quiet before the storm in a way. You know?
Yeah, it was a lot simpler,
Yeah.
especially compared to my life now.
uh, and is your value still the same, right? Parents still giving, still trying to find a way to support others and help the
Yes.
community. You mentioned church. Are you pretty active into?
Well, we were very active in the Catholic Church.
Mm,
My parents, when my mom actually worked at a church,
mm,
but unfortunately she had a bad experience,
mm,
and there's a lot of like negative people there
mm.
that like treat the church as like a business, and they don't really care about the people. Like they literally like they treat it like a fundraising like
Event. And,
vehicle,
oh Lord.
and and my mom was really taken aback by that, so we kind of like stopped going to church after she found another job somewhere else,
Mm.
and we haven't gone back, but and I've like tried to find my own like spiritual path,
Mm.
and I respect people that go to church, because I did like the sense of community, and
Mm.
uh people, yeah, it was just like a a nice thing to like
Yeah, to
go
be a
there
part of.
every week, and
Have people you can kind of catch up with and have counsel with. One of the things I think is interesting is what you mentioned, the kind of sense of community. Um, any like really close friends that you made kind of during your teenage childhood years?
no, unfortunately most of the people like I've lost touch with them,
Sure.
like once I stopped going to church. I do have one friend that I have like I ran into him later, and
Mm.
he's been doing a lot of stuff in the community, so it's nice that we like have that connection.
But and hopefully anyone in like middle school or high school you still interact with too, or
Um in high school, I mean we have Facebook, but sometimes it feels like
sure.
it's not it's not a full like a full relationship where you just kind of like get updates.
Yeah.
I think the pandemic, it really like
Yeah.
paused any chance to like catch up with people.
One of the things is interesting is that um, I'm so curious on how you got into what you're doing now, because you're so involved with the community, but as you mentioned, like you don't really have those like those one-on-one connections with people like you used to have, prior to the whole kind of pandemic life, and when you used to go to church and kind of really be in that sense. But you're
Yeah.
actively involved in the community per se. Um, do you feel like your personal life, right, is very different from the kind of the career life you have? And it's much easier to build connections through your career life than it is kind of through your personal life. And do you think that kind of started from a young age, or?
No, I think they're very intertwined.
Mm,
Um, cause with organizing, you definitely have to like build a personal connection with the people that you're working with in the community,
mm,
or else it like you don't have those long term relationships, or like um, yeah, when you're like down in the trenches with someone, you
yeah,
have to like really trust that person.
yeah, yeah. So when you graduated high school, what was the path for you? How did you get to where you are now?
Well, actually, I first got involved with politics when I was in high school, when I was
Oh,
17. And a family friend, he asked me to help with voter registration at a Route 66 event in San Bernardino.
mm.
And I was like, okay, I'll help you. Like, I was very naive.
She had no
and,
clue what she was getting
and
into.
someone, I asked someone, an older man, if he would register to vote, and he was like, no, I don't vote. I was like, I don't think it matters.
Mm,
And I was just like shocked by his answer, and it kind of like pushed me to like not be that way, or like try
mm,
to figure out why how people end up like that, and it kind of pushed me to be more involved and participate more,
mm.
almost like to make up for
But you're
that
17. You
person.
can't even vote yourself, right? Like,
Well, yeah,
like
a
you're,
lot of
yeah.
a lot of young people now, they've been getting involved because you can register people to vote.
Mm.
I even worked the polls
Oh,
that election
just
year.
just just happened, right? Oh, that
But
that year.
yeah, when I was 17.
Oh, you got like you jumped in, like
Yeah,
you went all in.
cause you could do a lot. You could start your own podcast at 17 and
Yeah.
talk about political issues. You could lobby your elected officials. Like, I don't think young people should let be not being able to vote stop them. I know so many young people, they've been doing a lot even though they can't vote.